Starting on the web page where you found the plan that you want to use, you're going to go down and find that floor plan. And when you click on it, that will help you to actually see it in a larger view. You're going to right click on this view and do Save Image As. Other web browsers will say Save Picture As. Navigate to the folder where you've been saving your stuff. In my case, it is My Drive, an architecture folder, and the house project folder. Change the name to something like House Image or House Picture. Make sure it is a JPEG or a PNG. If it happens to be a GIF, you are going to have to change the file format later on. We're going to hit Save. Now we're back over to Revit. Once we're in Revit, I have my property lines and my setbacks already defined. I've also already moved my elevation markers to the outside so they won't be overlapping the house. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and move over, because when you first bring your image in, it's going to be way larger than you need. I'm going to go at the top up to Insert and then over to Image. Lucky for me, it went right into that house project folder, showing me house image. You may have to move that around. As you can see, there are only certain types of pictures that work, and one that's commonly used but isn't available is a .gif, .gif. Okay, like I said, you can change that suffix to force it to work, which your teacher can help you do. Go ahead and select the image and hit Open. You're going to see this X following you around. We're going to move over off to the left, in my case, but off into some empty space, and go ahead and set that down. The next thing you want to do is find somewhere where you can very easily tell what a distance is supposed to be. In my case, I have this 6-foot dimension right here. I could also use the dimension on the outside or one of the other rooms that are very clearly defined. The easier, the more delicate the lines are, the easier this process actually is. So I'm going to use this dimension right here. One of the tools I have right here is called Scale. It's a blue square with a white square on it. And when you click on it, it's going to ask you to pick a point. In my case, I'm going to pick a point on this dimension. I'm then going to come all the way across horizontally and pick my point. The more you zoom in, the more accurately you can pick your point. Once I've clicked, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and it now will let me shrink it. And as it's doing so, it gives me the count. Now I'm going to shrink this back enough that it matches what I needed, which was 6 feet. So I'm going to very carefully make sure I'm on 6 feet, 0 inches, and click. And what that should do is what's called relative scaling. Now the house has been scaled down relative to those 2 points. What I should be able to do is click on my measure tool and measure between this point and this point and get basically 6 feet. With a very small difference, I do. I'm going to want to check some other measurements. I'm going to check this 8-foot one. And I'm also going to check the house overall. It should be very, very, very close to the right size. If it's not, you might want to try that again using a slightly more defined spaces. But remember, clicking the image is not as easy as it is clicking the normal walls, because you normally have a reference point. So like for me, this overall distance that was supposed to be 57.6 is actually 57.10. The fact that it's a little larger is actually okay with me. Okay? And this one that's supposed to be 69 feet, I can go ahead and measure and see what this will be just to verify that I'm not going to end up too large. No, I'm just about a little bit around 4 inches too large. So that will be close enough for what we're doing. I have to rotate mine because my front door is here, but my street side is over here. So I have to rotate my front door. So I like to use this coming down towards the front door and rotate it 90 degrees towards my street side. I can then position the house on the lot. Once I get it close, I'm going to use the arrow keys to just give it a bump. The more you zoom in, the smaller the bumps are. So I'm going to go ahead and bump it up so that it's between the two side measurements. So I want to see a little bit of space between the two. That works for me. And now it's pretty much right on the front. The more you zoom in, the smaller the bumps are. I'm going to actually bump it back because my wall might be a little bit thicker than the marked walls, which is okay. Once I've done that, this is now in place. I'm ready to start tracing. If I go to the architecture, I can get the wall tool, make sure I have an exterior wall, set finished face interior, and that I've got all the things I need set correctly. I'm going to zoom in every time I pick a wall type so that I can get as close to the inside of the wall as possible. You may have to do some flipping depending on how you're tracing your walls, but again, the idea of zooming out and then in should help you. Click that there and go ahead and turn this corner. Always being careful, because right here you can actually see, if I trace this down, my wall is in the correct spot. You need to be careful about getting too far to the inside. Okay? Follow this around as you need.